Today we have the pleasure of meeting with Tony. Help me pronounce your name.
Anarino.
Anarino. Our first question is from Mike Kunkel. How does sales training need to change to better support sales reps as they navigate the changing marketplace and buyer behavior?
That's a great question. I'm not sure that the changing marketplace and the changing buying behavior has as much to do with the success in training as that it just needs to be continuous and ongoing, first and foremost. And I think where sales organizations struggle is we hesitate to ever pull the team off of the field. We just have to keep them on the field playing quarter after quarter after quarter, and we never bring them back in to take a huddle, to plan what our strategy is going to be, to call the next play. It's just hammer away at the goal line the whole time. The mindset has to change. You've got to be willing to take the team off of the field to direction, to build their skill set, so when they are on the field, they can be more effective and more successful in selling. That's number one for me. What are your thoughts?
Well, I was reminded when you used the football analogy of a quote from Jerry Rice that I really like, which is, I will do today what other people won't do, so I can do tomorrow what other people can't. It's across all sports, and I think selling is a closing sport. And we need to train every day, like golfers. I interviewed Lee Trevino, and he said, I was practicing until my hands were bleeding. 1,000 practice balls a day makes a huge difference in your handicap.
It's funny because in any other human endeavor, there's practice, there's rehearsal, there's all these things that go into making sure that the competencies continue to grow and develop over time. But in business, particularly sales, we resist that so much. And I'll give you another example of a change that I think would be beneficial for sales organizations now, especially when we have these big kickoff events and we plan to roll people through workshop after workshop. There's this enormous content dump. Like the only chance we're going to get to talk to them about product is this one day, and it crowds out any kind of sales improvement training. Maybe they'll throw one keynote at it or one short mini workshop. But ultimately, what I see successful organizations doing, and a couple that I've worked with, is taking that sales content and marrying it to the product knowledge. So instead of saying, I'm going to teach you about the product, it's about how do we marry up the sales training. So maybe we're working on better obtaining commitments. We're going to learn to close better. Okay, how do we do that? And we use the new product as an example, so they have to learn about both of those things together. Because that's what real life looks like when they leave. These aren't separate buckets. The product knowledge needs to be married to the sales content so that when they go out, they can be more effective. But we tend to split them apart and divorce them as if they're two separate ideas.
Let's go to the next question by Chris Morgan. Why do most B2B sales and marketing professionals think they're so vastly different from B2C?
It's an interesting question. I think that there's a couple things. First, size is definitely a part of this. In a B2B sale, we're working with one person. But in a B2B sale, especially a complex sale like we're involved in now, we're building consensus, and there's stakeholders throughout the whole organization from top to bottom. So we need to go north and south. When you're doing B2C, I get one person, or maybe I get a family, so I get a husband and a wife that are making a decision. So there's not so much complexity around that. Second, I think the stages are essentially the same. Buyers always go through the same process. First, I'm dissatisfied. I recognize my needs. I evaluate options. I recognize that there are some concerns, and I try to resolve them. Except in a B2C, that's done really fast. It's compressed. And in B2B, that can take months. The sales process is so much longer and so much more difficult to manage than a B2C. And I think the third, and finally, this is the major difference in my mind. When you sell a big B2B sale, it's complex, and you become part of your client's value chain. You're helping them deliver value to their clients. So if you look at Amazon.com, Amazon.com is a customer for UPS. So am I. I use UPS to ship things. But if UPS fails for, I move to FedEx. If UPS fails for Amazon, their business model is destroyed, and they're no longer Amazon.com. They're married so tightly. And that's the way it is for most of us that sell into organizations. The outcome is so big and important. We're strategic, and we have to really deliver.
Well, thank you, Anthony. That was a wonderful conversation. We'd like to curate better content for the sales community, and I think we can only do it if you all pull together. Agree?
I agree completely. Let's have some interaction here and have some fun.